Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Shanghai and WGL Winter. $70,000 on the line here at the Warcraft 3 World Championships. We have 4 Western players here, and one of them stepping in the ring.
The first game is over. We have many more games to come. How many more games, Neil? Tell me right now. Never do math on stream.
A lot. Plenty.
A lot of games.
Speaking of games, I do have a result from the other game that was offstage. Czech defeats Soin 2-0.
And you were surprised.
I was. You too.
I was not. I was...
You just say that.
I was neutral like Switzerland.
When the camera was on, oh, I didn't expect that. And now that the red light is on.
No, I said, you didn't expect that, did you? That's what I said.
My ears,
He's never listening to me. You guys see what's going on here?
Well, what is going on right now?
We have the next match coming up soon with European participation. We just saw Group B, the first opening match of the tournament, and now it's going to be HawK versus WFZ next, where I find it hard to say who the favorite is.
Okay, then I'm going to be a little bolder here and say HawK is the favorite, on paper. If you are not including previous Shanghai participations in tournament offline, then HawK, I think, he's facing happy a lot. He should be prepared for what's to come. He has a great human versus undead matchup. And he did super well in other offline tournaments that were not in Shanghai. And he looks... I don't know, man. It feels a little bit like a different HawK, and I got a good feeling. This group, he knows he has a very good shot. Only top 8 get money, so maybe that motivates him a little more as well.
Yeah, if there's a group for him to finally make it into the playoffs, it is this one. WFZ, his opponent, he was the best on it in the world quite a while back, 2014, maybe part of 2015, but then he was surpassed by the likes of Happy and 120. And honestly never got really close again, especially offline. Whatever it is, somehow offline he seems to be, I almost want to say choking, because he sometimes plays so much worse than what we've seen before. Now, don't get me wrong, online he's not really playing as well as Happy. Let's say Happy and 120 can get up to Super Saiyan 5. WFZ, I'd say Super Saiyan 3 at most, what we've seen so far from him.
Okay, map picks and bans. HawK gets rid of Amazonia and Twisted. WFZ doesn't want to play on Terranar Stand, his former home turf, and Echo Isles. Pretty understandable, I would say. Leaves us with CH as the map pick for WFZ, Northern Isles as the map pick for HawK, and Last Refuge as neutral ground.
So, judging especially from WFZ's bans, it looks like he is anticipating expansion play, which is the meta in this matchup from humans again. As we talked about earlier, at last WGL was all about one-base tier 3 rushes. Nowadays, most humans have returned to the fast expansion playstyle. However, HawK, in the months previous, even after WGL, was still playing this one-base style. Does that mean that WFZ didn't do his homework too well, perhaps?
Could be. How easy is it to get access to the European games? We have had a lot of good games at W League. He must know about the games at WCG earlier this year, but what else? Do the Chinese know about stuff like the funny Warcraft Cup or the Moscow LAN? I'm not too sure if he knows too much about HawK. Of course, HawK plays also a lot of Netty, so they know each other quite well. And they faced each other in the qualifiers this season. It was online, of course, so always a little disadvantage to this man right here, to HawK. It's 1-1 in the score. In total, it's 2-1, dating back to an encounter at WCA 2014. So historically, WFZ has the lead, but I mean, the statistics here pretty much out the window. Same goes for the win rate. WFZ 48% versus human, HawK 55% versus human, but both numbers are very crooked because HawK is facing Happy a lot, WFZ is facing Infi and TH a lot, and we go into the second series of the day for China and Lucky Future. It's Wu Zhen in the bottom left, and representing Russia and the Human Alliance in the upper right, it's HawK.
Should most certainly be an AM first here. For the most part in this matchup, the first heroes are semi-set in stone. It's almost always DK versus AM. However, there are exceptions to this rule. Yumiko, for example, loves MK first. From 1-0, we've been seeing a lot of Lich first recently. But the builds here are so far so standard. We have a Tet Fiend opening from WFZ. And opting for the DK here. This is the most standard. This is how you would see me play, because I don't take chances.
Yeah, HawK also against Happy in his matches there, especially at W League, went Archmage almost all the time. He doesn't strike me as a Mountain King first player, which
He used to be, though.
He
He used to MK a lot.
When was that?
Techie days.
I was still young when that was the case.
No, at WCA 2015 he played MK a lot. His group versus... what was his group again?
You should do your homework, Remo.
Rotterdam knows, probably.
So, yeah. Archmage confirmed, WFZ with a little scouting and preparing the creeping. It's a Ted Fiend build order, of course. So, your opinion on this matchup in general?
That is a wide-reaching question.
Is there a clear favorite?
Alright, in my opinion, especially if you play fast expansion, if you play against the best undeads in the world, it is hard to play flawlessly defense and not lose too much. But if you play defensively impeccably, it's still very strong for human, in my opinion.
Right.
This is LR. This is not a hard expansion to take. But HawK, we have mentioned before, he has been at least in the past, quite fond of this tier 3 rush style. Show us the base. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, kind of expected that as well. He has been very aggressive with his level 1 to 2 Archmages as well. I wonder if he adopts a little from TH and Infi and goes heavier on Footmen and diving deeper into undead bases to throw them down. Oh, good steal by WFZ, getting that last hit one step closer to level 2, and that's why HawK is denying this Water Elemental as well. He can summon quite some Water Elementals with the Reju Potion that's in his inventory. Level 3, not easy here on LR.
Yeah, absolutely. For neither of these, typical early game here in this matchup, if it's one base versus one base, the human has the Water Elementals and the footies out earlier, so he can creep better, so the undead usually wants to slow down the creeping. Once there's decent numbers of fiends, 2, maybe 3, then WZ can quickly creep himself, but for the time being that's not the case, so it's about harassing at the moment.
So WFZ's year has been pretty normal, I would say. Not too many big successes, like a weekly cup, final 4 here and there. But apart from that, a lot of eliminations in the final 8, and that's where he kind of stands at the moment in the scene, right?
When was the last time we saw WFZ impress?
Oftentimes at like team tournaments.
True.
Team and clan events.
Yeah. But that's also feels like it's been a little while. Yeah, WFZ recently hasn't dazzled us too much. We do see the Blacksmith coming, so this is the HawK style that he's been playing for a while that we saw, especially a lot last WGL. Quick rifles, quick MK, quick tier 3, semi-quick tier 3 to get the Paladin, and then transition to inner fire rifles. It's a very strong strategy if you go super late game to get a lot of levels, but it takes forever to come online. That's always the danger with this strat from the human.
Yeah. HawK on the other side has had a pretty good year, I would say, without winning a big title, really. He was oftentimes defeated in finals by Foggy and by Happy, of course, but he is the WCG European champion, with Side being the runner-up, of course. Coil Throne again, did he get it?
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
I think it was too late, yeah.
I think so too.
Despite the sentry. Wu Fa-Zhen.
And yeah, HawK positioning himself aggressively on the map, keeping Wu Fa-Zhen busy, stopping him from gathering experience, and Rifle Cast is coming. Okay.
Yeah. Tier 3 should be coming in then a little bit later. Always difficult to tell when you're going to go tier 3 if you do it too fast and you don't have enough sustain and you can get killed off just by Lich DK Fiends, basically. If you go too late, then the Paladin isn't going to have a big impact. This was a big steal right here. This slowed down the level 3 on the AM. DK, I think, got the item as well? Not sure, actually.
Yeah, I think he has to get this item here.
Block.
Good damage on the Fiends so far, though.
Good damage on Fiends and DK and a lot of mana drained. And, okay, AM is not level 3, but the rest is pretty good. With everything being so damaged here, the MK should be able to creep up pretty safely now.
It's a pretty, like the first power spike, I think this matchup is, in my opinion, a lot about power spikes. So this, the Mountain King coming in, is one of the first for the human. We see the tier 3 that you mentioned before. So with the Stormbolt, you can either get Fiends or last hit on creeps when you disable either Coil or Nova and then get the last hit somehow. This is a tough position at the moment for WFZ as he doesn't have level 2 Coil, but long range.
He used the last coil.
Yeah, so he can't engage anymore. On this Mountain King, you see the blue bar, there's quite some Stormbolts in. Disable a little more right clicks on the DK, he has to disengage, he can't stay in this.
There's one more Nova, that's it for spells. WFZ, having taken so much damage again from the early game,
Nice
he gets
Nova
the steal. Yeah, that was good, but
so risky. HawK surrounds it immediately. Is this close? Not sure. Coil comes in again. Mountain King all of a sudden super low. And there's another Nova thanks to the Wand of Mana stealing. And the MK is dead. And that is a crucial hit to HawK because you want this little dwarf on a high level.
Oh, that was so decisive, man. That was so important, I should say. Was super close. HawK was close to getting some Fiend kills there. Did he not have a priest? Or, the priest got ensnared, right? If there's a priest continuously healing the MK, that can look very, very different. But I don't think that was quite the case. At least the MK was only level 1, so he's going to be back soon. AM is level 3 now as well. And so he lost the MK level 1 and 1 priest. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, you can deal with that. And now, Scroll of the Beast for a Rifleman army. Oh yeah. Dispel will be there with destroyers, but limited. So that's a good addition for the next fight for HawK.
That's always the issue with Undead in this late game. If human plays this tier 3 rifle style, you want to have Dispel against the Inner Fire, which is of course a really good dispel possibility. But the destroyers are only good for that. They can only dispel that, and then the rifles of course greatly outmatch them in the 1-to-1 fight. Also, there's going to be water elementals to deal with. So if you want to dispel everything, you need a lot of destroyers. And destroyers normally aren't the best units to mass anymore, ever since, you know, the nerfs and stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, Warsong Battle Drums. Another damage boost here. WFZ got the Mana Stones, so what's up here, man? Second game, or second series. And
Rigged.
we have a lot of mana items in this.
Oh, fast expansion, but not exactly fast, but kind of fast. WZ here at 40, trying to go for the second base. This is such an awkward timing.
Yeah.
It's not too unlikely. It's not going to get scouted at all.
That's a little counterintuitive. We get big upgrades for the human army. We get a Paladin.
Is actually looking for it.
We get a Master's upgrade, and it seems like HawK knows exactly what WFZ is doing because he sees it, he kills it, the Acolyte as well, and that's the second base prevented. He bought a little time for that. Creep got the Vamp Aura, sold it already, so that's a little gold.
It's a crazy strong read by HawK, though. Like, he's thinking, he must be at around 40, maybe 45 supply. Perhaps he is expanding. Nobody really does that. But HawK covering all his bases. Or maybe he just wanted to creep the Merc camp and we're giving him too much praise. But let's say he deserves all the praise. Pally comes out third for the human and Dark Ranger third for WFZ.
With a Black Arrow first, so no silence at the moment. On the other side, we see Bash for the Mountain King as the second spell, so no Clap to be used. HawK got level 4 on the Archmage, level 2 Brilliance Aura, a lot of mana regen now, and we got the Orb. If you haven't seen Warcraft in a long time, first the Creep Jack, second red spot goes to WFZ. Item was okay.
AM is very far forward,
Yeah, what's
though.
he doing there? Needs a Holy Light, there we go.
Scary.
But there's more Coil, more Nova.
Yeah, Nova's cooling down. HawK, needs another Holy. But the Paladin, the MK is also in trouble.
Yeah.
Not a good start at all right there into this fight for HawK. Nova hits the Priest, takes that one out, Destroyer for the time, surviving, and gets healed up again with a Coil.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that the Orb got changed, so it reduces healing effects now. So if you shoot away at a Fiend, for example, and you use a Coil, it's pretty much a lower level Coil, so reduces the damage by the healing by 30%.
Yeah, very effective.
And that makes things super hard in the very, very late game.
At the moment, the Orb of Fire is on the Pally, though, which is definitely not what you want.
No.
You want that on the AM.
Yeah.
And that's also why you don't want to transition to Blizzard, oftentimes at least, because then you don't get the right clicks in.
HawK scouting with his Archmage, giving some more experience to his melee heroes, but Wufajan ready to punch. Little supply lead here. And now the Orb is on the Archmage. Okay, that was big, but still, Destroyer in the air, Statue in the back. This is looking okay. Militia is coming in for HawK, level 4 on the DK. Stormbolt right-clicks. He wants to force the Town Portal right here, but it's not working. Counter nuke on the Paladin, gets the level up. Maybe force into Divine Shield with this, and absolutely. Mountain King on the prowl, though, with another Stormbolt coming. Where is it landing on? On the Fiend. Okay.
No coil there, perhaps too much damage anyways. Pally, Divine Shield is running out soon, but the coil gets defensively used on the Fiend. Kiting backwards is WFZ, was considering the Death Pact there for a moment, goes for the Aura instead. With that is pretty fast. Here we see the reduced healing of the coil, but the Paladin in trouble. Nice inner fire to give him a bit more protection on the way back.
That's lifesaver right there. This is extra armor, and the Destroyer is falling. That was one of the last coils, and the Lich Stormbolt coil should be on cooldown. Trapped as a DP. Oh no! What a disaster for WFZ. He's trying to nuke the Paladin, but again escaping, and the DK falls as well. HawK with the double kill, and in a super good position now.
Yeah, looks like WFZ wasn't considering that army to be that strong. Rifles with inner fire. Guys, I've been yelling about this for months now. It's really, really good. And HawK now has bought the time to get to the super late game. He has those strong hero levels. AM is close to 5. Paladin is almost 3. And that is a ginormous level up.
That is a game changer for sure. So much healing on the human side, then buys back the DK. Without, you can't really move too much Lich from the altar. So WFZ can't fight until the Lich is back because he carries the orb. And that is a big damage boost. He is sitting on a new expansion though, bottom right. Will HawK have a great read again? Or does he even need it? Because he's pushing into the base. He wants this altar gone.
That's smart. He realized the Lich is still dead. That could be an easy snipe right there. And
Yeah,
HawK has his own expansion coming up, so he could totally go 2 base versus 2 base. The bigger the armies get, normally the better it is with this comp for the human.
Yeah, and the TP was on the Lich, so he can't portal home. This altar falls, he cancels the Lich, has to get him back from the tavern now as well, which is super expensive.
Yeah, that's another 580 gold or something for a level 3 hero. WZ can just barely afford it.
Expo is up though, so he gets extra income now. Breaking upkeep right away, Lich is back. Okay, what to do? He can't snipe the reinforcement, he doesn't want to snipe the reinforcements because he needs to protect his base at home. Crypt is falling as well, no more Fiends. And HawK is just staying in there. You say never fight in an undead base, but you can stay and do damage for sure if you're unthreatened.
WZ wants to come in. Mana situation here is very important. HawK's mana is looking okay. The DK still has the Mana Stone. That's a big deal. Destroyer gets the Dispel off, but barely healing because of the Orb of Fire that affects every source of healing.
And the Black Citadel is about to fall. Mountain King distracting a little. Now the rifles turn around, trying to get this Destroyer. There's pretty much no mana on the Lich, and HawK again going for the Fiends with the Stormbolt. Coil arrives, but you see the damage is just outstanding.
Yeah.
A little overwhelming, and he just turns around. There was... Oh, no repair. I was tricked for a second by this extra HP bar there. And the Black Citadel falls. Level 4 Mountain King. Bash is getting better. And HawK, 20 supply lead.
Yeah, HawK has arrived in the late game. If you get to this point, the strat is super strong. Getting there, that's the issue. And also, WFZ not going for Banshees is perhaps a little bit questionable. Going heavier on Destroyers instead. When Happy plays against this style, he will go Banshees, Anti-Magic, everything, and dive into the back, into the Priest to get rid of the sustain. But at this point, it seems to be a desperate numbers game here.
The positioning by HawK is really good. Like, he's not affected by the towers at all, so he can just do damage, and once WFZ comes in, he can turn around and do damage there. HawK taking map number 1 after a little struggle in the early game, stabilizing, and this fight in the upper left with the double kill. WFZ a little too slow,
Yeah.
and the Russian immediately punching on it.
Normally, the Undeads want to play this matchup with this strat is force a fight before level 3 MK. That's the big advantage for Undead in this matchup. Lich, of course you want to have him on high levels as well, but Lich is okay on level 2. MK really isn't. MK is really bad before level 3. And yeah, I agree. WFZ played that, in my opinion, also way too slow. Last Refuge has to be set, though. It's pretty good for this strat for human because there's so many valuable camps that you can go around the map. You can also creep aggressively, and if you get creep jacked and you're not ready to fight, you can TP back, and there's camps left back at home. Yeah, I feel like actually, against, but you're not going to say actually.
Not yet.
Against HawK's style, LR seems like a really, really good map. Maybe not the best choice to not veto this. He vetoed Terranas and Echo. Echo is a much harder map for MK to find decent leveling on.
All right. So, good start for Sergei Shebakov. We go on to Concealed Hill. Lots of experience on that map. A little bigger than Last Refuge. In other ways, a little reminiscent with the 2 red spots on the side. And I feel it kind of has confirmed what I said in the early game. HawK looking super solid and super strong.
Yeah.
Like that read on the expansion, if he's not scouting that can win WFZ the game.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Well played there by HawK. And WFZ, it feels like he doesn't know precisely how you want to play against this strategy. Also the vetoes. Concealed, like, getting the dragon with anything that doesn't shoot up is always weird, but with rifles you can easily get the dragon. Also,
and water elementals. Yeah.
And water elementals. Early game also, this is kind of an easy level 3 AM map. Level tier 2 MK creeping, that isn't that easy, so I would like to see WFZ be more aggressive here. Don't give MK level 3 for free and only then begin fighting. It's really, in my opinion, with this strat in this matchup, it's all about slowing down the human second and third hero and utilizing the strength of the orb before they become too powerful.
We go in to map number 2. It's match points for HawK. We had a 2-0 for Lin over Fly. We had a 2-0 for Czech over Soin. Will this continue to be a very one-sided day with Russia prevailing over China? In the bottom left, again for China and Lucky Future, it's WFZ and HawK in the upper right. So will we see any differing builds here?
Would have surprised me greatly.
Yes, me
WFZ really not the Dreadlord player. Well, Dreadlord third maybe, but doesn't play like Lich first stuff like 1-0 does. And HawK, having already shown that he doesn't want to play Fast Expo that much, if you suddenly start to decide you want to play Fast Expo here, that would be wildly surprising because this Fast expansion is actually really hard. If the DK comes in with a good timing, with Fiend, Skeletons, level 2, it's going to be a ton of peasants dying. So I absolutely expect this to be the same game plan once again from the Russian. And WZ, he needs to be able to apply more pressure and not let that MK level so freely. Acolyte Scout. What's he looking for? A couple of corpses, perhaps.
Yeah, to just drive some skeletons and harass a little earlier.
A normal creep route here is Ogre Warrior Camp. That's always so valuable. Basically, everyone goes for it first. It's good experience, easy to creep, and it's a clause of attack, which are always going to be welcome. And then moving from green to green. That is what makes this map early game good for human against undead, against orc, against night elf, against everything, basically. You can move from one green to the next, and you should find level 3 pretty quickly. Get the level 2 water elemental by the time you're tier 2, and then continue creeping with the MK. That's what we should expect, but perhaps there's some nuanced play, some special strats by these two in store as well.
Yeah, we gotta say about WFZ, the last time they played here on Concealed Hill, WFZ won the game. While Last Refuge, the map we've seen before, was taken by HawK, so maybe it is the right choice if WFZ has a special game plan or just knows how to do it. Again, HawK going for the normal creeper and then moving on a little more aggressively on the map, claiming the middle, claiming the crab, not giving this, and a nice footy block. This doesn't do any damage. What?
Chamiko, is that you?
Yeah, can someone check if that's really HawK on the seat or if it's the Korean? That doesn't do any damage, but delays the arrival of the DK, and we've seen a lot of last hit coils stealing creeps, and this is not happening. He even runs in range of the Archmage, catches a few right clicks, which you never want on level 1 because you have no healing. He kind of has to get this Murloc, but HawK, so sweet, sending 2 footmen on him, attacking with the Archmage, and gets this entire camp. Impressed by what HawK is showing us here.
Seriously, this is like picture perfect early game. This is actually outstanding. It is, however, only the early game. It's not what's going to decide this match. DK hits level 2 with the skeletons and ghouls creeping there in the meantime. This is also something that HawK can do, sending out the militia to creep the green. However, lumber is a bit of an issue with this build. If you rush tier 3, you cannot abuse militia as much. So maybe for that reason, not doing it yet. Oh, how cool is this? Water elemental and footies to the side at the next green. Remember what I said? From green to green to green. And the AM keeps the rest of the undead force busy, perhaps even able to see some last hits. And guess what? If the skeletons manage to force the AM low HP, there's always fountains on this map.
True. I mean, that goes for WFZ as well, so you can tank a little more with the DK. But again, slowing the undead down, creeping in the meantime, good multitasking. He has the read on this now with the skeleton, but oh, he actually uses militia on the turtles now, so that's level 3 for him.
I always forget. Is it perfectly lined up, or do you need one more?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, you might be right.
For once. I have my moments, really.
So, what's HawK trying to do down here? Waiting for the level. Is he really going to dive the base? Is this a ladder game?
With only 3 footmen?
Yeah.
It's a little ambitious, but maybe he just wants to force WFZ back so he can creep the bottom right.
Yeah, that's true.
If he had such a great read on the expansion in game number 1, I can see that HawK knows that WFZ loves his tier 2 expansion or early tier 3 expansion. And by this little move, he forces him back from this quite hard to creep camp at the bottom right. He has to go back to his base, then he has to move back to the bottom right again. And again, time, which he needs for Mountain King, rifles, casters, tier 3. Time is the 3rd resource for human.
Yep. It looked a little bit weird, but actually it's a really smart play. HawK has the level he needs, and as long as he keeps the DK away from creeping and waits until the MK comes out, his progression and experience is looking totally fine. WFZ once again is falling behind in the early game with the levels. That is somewhat normal, of course, with the DK. And look at HawK, man, continuing to play aggressively. There's a benefit also of Concealed Hill. It's pretty predictable where your opponent's going to creep, because a lot of the creep camps are pretty hard, too hard to creep early, so you eliminate those out of possibility and you know where he has to be instead. MK comes out now, though, so now might be the time to retreat, because you do want to level him. Which will also be ready soon. With the Coil Nova, rifles could start dying.
Yeah, I could see him going to the middle now, lure out the Ogre and trap him at the tavern with a Stormbolt, but HawK just continues to play aggressive, right? The Mountain King movement indicates that. They're meeting in the middle now, soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like that play so much. Good skeleton scouting here, seeing the MK coming. Oh, but if HawK can steal this one, WFZ a little bit late here to go in, but it's also, it's scary to engage into this. Since there's no level 2 coil, Stormbolts plus right clicks could very well find some fiend kills over here.
Okay, WFZ, what can you do against this human force? Can HawK escape this against the trappers? So far, the first trapper ends up on the skeleton. There's a lot of skeletons, actually, but a lot of them are expiring soon. So HawK getting one of the little trolls. And still, good engagement. Again, no level 3 DK. Yeah. Far away from level 2 Lich.
Dude, HawK is playing this super well.
Yeah.
He's got a great game
I don't know why you sound so surprised, Remo. I told you before.
He's kind of outplaying WFZ, like, in every regard. I was expecting this to be closer. It's, of course, far from over. We're not in the late game yet. But this, he's checking all the boxes. He's getting everything done that he needs so far in this match. And again, if he gets level 3 MK before the first big fight, this should be looking good for him.
Yeah, WFZ never really went far away from his plan to creep the bottom right, and that tells you how much time HawK really bought with this one Archmage 3 footman push into the base. It's like 1.5 minutes, which is forever in Warcraft. Parry up this nice, here we go, surround on the Ogre Lord. That's the biggest item on the map, and WFZ is nowhere near to contest this.
Yeah, WFZ's positioning, I think, is way too passive. It is good experience in the bottom right at the natural, but it puts you far away from everywhere else on the map. You can't really react to anything. Look at this MK experience, dude. He's almost as fast as the DK. It's not supposed to look that way. WFZ, once again, not having potent enough of an early game.
What? Double Slaughterhouse Crypt Lord?
Oh, he's going for the old school mass A-bomb counter.
And of course, more area of effect against ground units with Impale. And a tanky front line with Spike Carapace as a passive, but you lack the silence, and the human will just throw hammers and holy lights around you.
The thing is, Dark Ranger is really good early on, but if the human is quick to dispel, she can sometimes feel rather underwhelming. Creepjack here, TP forced, Fiend almost killed. What HawK doesn't have, by the way, is Clap. And against mass A-bombs, Clap is really good. So
and it's really expensive to use the Tomb of Retraining. So maybe he needs an expansion before. I mean, mass A-bombs, it will take some time for WFZ as well to arrive there. And HawK is at tier 3. I think he can live a couple of minutes without the AoE spell of the Mountain King.
Yeah, might not even be 100% necessary. In the past, you know, 1.28 days and stuff, mass A-bombs was absolutely amazing against the rifle style, but that was always tier 2 rifles only. With tier 3 coming in, more upgrades for the rifles, Paladin as well, and most importantly, Inner Fire. A-bombs aren't really the hard counter anymore. is kind of an even fight, and it's a lot about hero levels.
Yeah, the rifle damage is just ridiculous. With upgrades, with inner fire, with the support of a Stormbolt. A-bombs melt. I mean, we've seen Thorzane kill an infernal ultimate in merely seconds. So that tells you how much damage that really is.
It was 3 volleys, I still remember. Pretty
As
good
if
units.
It was yesterday, huh?
Pretty good units, these rifles. Not everyone agrees.
A lot of players here agree, to be honest. But yeah, we're getting more items from the fountains.
Look how long this takes to creep, though.
Yeah.
This
No
took
web.
forever.
Roll the Magi for the Lich, though. +6 damage is really good. He's at +14 now. What's on the other side? There's so many good
Solo experience
items.
for the Pally. Oh, that's so good. Oh, look at that juice. Look at all that juice right here. Instant level 2. Oh, beautiful. This is the perfect game for this strat. WFZ is never going for early fights.
Sobi Mask on the Paladin. Plus the Brilliance Aura. That's a lot of Holy Light. Now, first Destroyer is up. There's only one tower. It's a little bit of a bust. He can't cancel that tower. How fast is HawK to respond? He's not using the town portal. He's just walking back. The Destroyers are not in this fight. Stormbolt used to catch him a little off guard. Got level 2 coil now, so can heal that. There is an Orb of Fire already, though. And 3 Destroyers. This is like playing an old school Destroyer bust.
Yeah, and what did they do so far? They killed the tower. They will kill 2-3 peasants. And now it's 15 supply in Destroyers. Which
Feels like you're not the biggest fan of
awful.
Destroyers anymore, Remo.
Destroyers have their place in certain matchups, but against mass rifles, it is not the place. Maybe
And
he can protect them with mass A-bombs, but it doesn't seem like he's very close to that. Look at the experience, by the way. Like, you are happy if you can avoid a big fight until the MK is level 3.
Yeah.
He can avoid the big fight until the Pally is level 3. That's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, he gets the gold mine. He didn't even need to use the TP. And you're right, this Destroyer push didn't do too much. It's distraction, but HawK is parking 2-3 Riflemen there, which he doesn't need for creeping, because he has Holy Light and Water Elementals and pretty much everything else. He's getting level 3 here. And the Paladin is also a little more tanky with that parry up. He should be safe from this weak nuke. We don't even have Nova 2 yet. So how do you want to kill these heroes? I don't know.
Yeah, I think WFZ has maneuvered himself into a very tough position here. What's the lumber looking like on HawK? Like, the map's completely crap now.
It's okay. It's at around 200.
Ideally, maybe he would like to expand right now, but for that, lumber is pretty low. So I guess there the peasant kills suddenly do become impactful.
I guess he needs flak cannons.
He doesn't even need many gyros. He just needs the vision above the trees. He has the damage from the rifles already. Acolyte moving out.
No temple.
Sacrificial pit.
A little bit of a WFZ signature move.
Oh, please don't tell me you're going worms. That is like the worst idea ever.
No. I just wanted to stop at shades.
It's probably just for the shade.
See, flak cannons.
You're playing rifles and gyros? Time to go worms. Oh, yeah.
Well, like, if there's one player in the pro scene who would do that, it should be WFZ.
It's true. Actually, he used to play worms against Orc.
On Terranos Stand, of all maps.
Back in the day, also against Night Elf, but back then everyone was playing them against Night Elf. I think I may have even seen it once or twice against Human. But Human has Stormbolt, Human has Shackles, Human has good piercing damage from other sources as well, so Frost Worms don't really seem to be the best in this very matchup.
We're a little joking here. It's just for the vision, to scout for expansions and to see the movement and see the progression of the human army. HawK is moving back a little, saving some gold, stays at 50. And that's big in Warcraft. If you go above 50 supply, you pay taxes to the gods of the game. Now he's breaking, but he got a little bit of extra income compared to WFZ, who broke earlier. No one wants to invest into a second base.
This is a little bit scary for HawK. He has very good hero levels, yes, but he was trying to scout, but he doesn't exactly know when the fight is going to occur. Seems like it is now. HawK still not with a lot of his reinforcements, but same might be true for WFZ.
The Nova is still level 1.
Yep, that's not good.
How do you deal with these riflemen?
But with Impale Nova coils coming in, there might be a lot of kills very quickly.
HawK has 2 heal scrolls, though, and Holy Light on level 2. And a staff. You still think there's gonna be a lot of kills?
perhaps.
Okay.
I like the sorceresses being added in. Slow, always valuable. Destroyers are the counter to the sorceresses, but there's plenty of counters to the destroyers already, so it makes a lot of sense to add them in so late into the game.
Is he going too heavy on the gyros?
How many does he have? 6? 7.
Coming? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But then again, if there's no destroyers left, maybe the heroes plus slow can do it by themselves. So perhaps you can't really over-invest into them.
Okay.
But yeah, I would also prefer to see, like, instead only 4 gyros and the rest. Rifles, rifles, rifles.
This time, by the way, we have Devotion Aura on the Paladin. No invulnerability on him. Might be a target down the road. But Devotion Aura gives quite a bit of armor, so more sustain.
Sometimes it becomes a little bit weird when there's no creeps anymore. What do? Do you attack into his base? It's going to put you at a big disadvantage.
Expansion time. WFZ almost maxed out. We have 0 upgrades on the Fiends. That's a little surprising.
Yeah, I guess.
But we have Disease Cloud. We have more Abomination, so that's fine. 2-0 on the Gyro, so flying into the Destroyers and willing to take that fight. Trying to kite a little more. First coil forced.
HawK with supply deficit, but with very strong heroes.
Oh, the Flak Cannons. Quite a big impact. That's half the Destroyer's HP gone before the fight really started.
Alright, and we go again. A lot of destroyers up in the air. Whoever wins the air fight here is going to have a big lead in this engagement.
First one down. There's no web, right, for WFZ. Second Destroyer down. Oh, this looks so good. Holy Light, Stormball on the DK. More focus. Okay, potion used, so he's safe with that. Are there still gyros? Yes, they are. Take out the last 2 destroyers. Mountain King level 4 and still holding on to the potions as well. Nukes a few rifle, but it looks good for HawK so far.
Yeah, looking very good. So much of his army still left alive. These A-bombs are good for tanking, but they don't really have good DPS at all, and the heroes weren't strong enough to provide all that DPS. DK in trouble. Stormbolt is cooling down. If he dies, this is his game, and he does die. GG, 2-0 for HawK.
The 2-0 streak continues in HawK. What a relief! Look at this! The emotions, his past starts here into the Gold Leagues. He always struggles. And now finding a 2-0 opening, that must do so much to his confidence.
And it's not his last game of the day, by the way. He's going to play against Soin later today, off stage, however, as the last match. And if he wins that as well, which chances aren't too bad, I would say.
Yes.
This could very well be him getting into the playoffs finally.
Yeah, and for Wu Fagen, I don't know, man. He still has to face Yumiko. Still has to face Soin as well. That was his first game, so he can still catch up and make it. But that's a rough start. It was these two were definitely contenders for the final 2, for the top 2 in this group. And especially the way HawK played. It wasn't the result that doesn't surprise me too much, actually. I gave him the edge in the beginning of the game. But the way he did that and the way he dominated WFZ.
Yep. As we talked about earlier in WGL Europe, he was able, with that style, to take 2 maps off of Happy in a best of 5. And WFZ was not even looking close to that level.
No, not at all.
Sorry to say it, but WFZ is once again showing up pretty weak offline. This has been his history throughout all of WGL, basically. He can still turn it around, but if he doesn't, he has no chance in Group A.
WFZ had some quite legendary lower bracket runs that kind of always ended up against Fly. But this is not happening here, but he's not being thrown off by one loss. He has a lot of fighting spirit.
He's lost a lot of games in the past. I thought you were going to say.
Well, that's true as well, but no. He has good fighting spirit. He's never giving up because he lost just one match. As long as this guy has a chance, he will fight for his chance. And he can 3-0 Yumiko, Soin, and check. No doubt about that, if he has like better days from here on out.
Yeah, depending on how well he did his homework in those matchups, because against this tier 3 rush style, that was super outdated. It's not how you play that anymore. But okay, he's going to have more chances to prove himself. We're going to have our next game.
Before that, he has one more game against Human, and that's Yumiko, and you can't really prepare for Yumiko, because he's like rolling the dice with his builds, I feel. Like, what first hero? Okay, Blood Mage. What then? Okay, Refman. You know, that's Yumiko to you.
All right, I'm gonna call right now. It's gonna be MK all the way.
All right.
Want to take that bet?
Yes. No. We'll see. We have an awesome game coming up. It is TH versus Lawlight. And if you know these players just a tiny little bit, you know that you don't go anywhere because it's one of the two strongest humans in the world, maybe the most creative human player of all time against the master of the Warden. And if we see a Warden against human, you guys are in for a treat. Action-packed. It looks so easy and flawless when the little man from Korea picks her. It's so hard to do, but it's always so impressive.
Yeah. Most recently, he made her work against Happy, actually. When in that matchup, she seemed to be unplayable. And actually, she is unplayable, but by everybody else other than him. He is just
much, yes.
like head and shoulders above everyone else. The Warden is his hero. But he's not feeling very confident in the matchup, but that doesn't have to say much. This is going to be a super awesome game, super awesome series between these two, and quite a few mind games, I imagine, going on as well.
Group B, the group of death, continues, and yeah, it's just packed to the roof, this group. We go into a little break before, of course, to give the players time to set up, and in that little break, you might want to go to back to Warcraft.com, because you guys can win 1 out of 7 Warcraft 3 Reforged keys, not only Warcraft 3 Reforged, but the Spoils of War
Spoils of War?
Deluxe Edition, Remo.
My God.
Yes!
You're going to get extra pets and extra little icons.
And skins.
And skins.
For Warcraft 3.
Goddamn. Does it cost anything?
If you win, no.
I mean, to take the survey. It doesn't cost anything? That's amazing.
All you have to do is to go back to backtowarcraft.com. On the right-hand side of the top is a little survey or question. Who do you think will win WGL? With that performance, will there be some votes for HawK? Could be. And the second question is, who are you rooting for? Because there's two very different questions, I think. And then you can increase your chances by liking us on Twitter and all that, but you can figure that out. 1 out of 7 Reforged keys up for grabs throughout the entire tournament.
Speaking of people who will perhaps win this tournament, TH is in the shortlist of one of the big favorites.
Hell yeah.
Infi seems to have the most gossip and hype around him right now, but TH seems to be very, very close after him. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, in the previous WGL, he was completely unstoppable until the semifinal. He looked like the champion of that tournament until he met Happy.
Yeah.
And facing off against TH in top form is always super scary. I hope Lawlight is bringing his best, but I think he will.
Yeah, he feels super confident as well. Like kind of the same statement I gave about HawK. Lawlight is joking a lot about matchup and balance, but we will see that. TH versus Lawlight coming up. We throw you into the highlights of HawK versus WFZ to see the glory of HawK again.
Nice.
要为背叛付出代价。乖乖爬。